All right, what you got?
So I'm just gonna throw this one at you.
All right.
And I already know the answer to this question. So maybe I'm gonna ask you this question and I'm gonna answer it for you. Then you can tell me if I'm crazy. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Is your glass half full or half empty? We're live on the new Half Empty, Half Full podcast. I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Trevor.
Good morning, bud. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Trevor?
Doing good, man. I'm excited about today's show.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We have a pretty cool guest on with us today. Well, a couple of them actually. But how was your weekend?
It was good, man. We hung out, didn't do much, just kind of enjoyed the weekend at home. What'd you do?
About the same. Put up the Christmas tree this weekend.
Nice.
Put up I don't know what they're actually called, like those things that beam the Christmas lights onto your house.
Like the lights?
Well, instead of putting them on your house, you stick this little projector. Oh, that's the word, projector.
Projector. Yeah, the light projectors.
Yeah,
Cool.
It shoots the lights onto your house. So did all that stuff to make the wife happy. Got
Nice.
a little bit of Christmas shopping done.
Nice.
Not much. What about you?
No Christmas shopping yet, man. I'm horrible at that. I always wait till the last minute. I don't know why I do it.
December 24th.
Yeah.
Be here next Thursday.
I know it always comes up before you know it, man.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. I'd like to welcome our special guest today in studio with us. We have Hayden Roberts, kind of a local motocross legend.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, from good old Utah, Pleasant View, I guess is what it would be. But yeah, I mean, around here, some type.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Hayden.
Well, let's see. I'm 29 years old. I'm just a scrub daddy motocrosser anymore these days. Yeah, I've been riding for probably 4 years old, 5 years old. So what would that be around now? Like 24 years now. So yeah, just now I pretty much just train kids and trying to still live the dream by racing still.
So that's kind of a cool story about Hayden, Trevor, and you may not know this, but here's a guy who's still actively competing, chasing his own personal motocross dreams as far as from a race standpoint, while running a business.
And running a business all at the same time, man. How's that work out for you?
It's good. It's a lot. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of not a lot of downtime. It just seems like we're always going 24/7. And if, it's like from basically sun up to sundown, it's, everything motocross. You eat, sleep, motocross every single day. So,
Right. Is your business involved with motocrossing and stuff then too?
yeah. Yep. So,
Right on.
Well, let's dive right into it and talk everything motocross today. So some questions for you, Hayden. Who's your motocross idol?
There's a couple of them, but I would definitely say for sure, probably the number one would be James Stewart. Just for the fact that dude was just an animal on a bike. Like, remember growing up, I was probably, 13, 14 years old, and James Stewart was starting to hit his peak in the 125 class, 250 class, and dude, man, just watching him rip around a track on a two-stroke, it was almost like watching a dude on a mountain bike. Just the way he could handle it, the way he could scrub. And at that time, what was so awesome was YouTube had just started. So, like, I remember, like, nobody understand what YouTube was and all that stuff, but let alone, being able to not have to put the VH tapes into the TV anymore. Is like you just go to mom and dad's computer, right up, and find all these videos that you ever wanted. And I just remember being glued to the computer for hours on end, just wanting to be like that guy. Like, I remember telling my parents, like, I had to have all the gear he had. And it's so crazy as a little kid what somebody like that can do to have such an influence on you at such a young age. And I guess we'll talk later into kind of how that ended up where I am now. But no, man, it's pretty awesome to see that how one person can make such an impact on one person's life. So
Well, that's what's got me curious, Hayden, is like with any sport, I would imagine kids or even anyone into the sport have idols or people that they want to mimic or imitate or be like. So with all the motocross racers, past, present, hell, even future, what makes you idol a motocrosser? What makes you idolize a motocrosser?
At that time, it was probably more his style, like his style on the bike and everything, and like pretty much, how he can move on the bike, and at that time James came up with a thing called the Bubba Scrub, and what it is basically you go as fast as you can, and when you're coming into jumps, like a lot of the dudes back in the day, they would come into jumps and then they'd hit their brakes or they'd have to slow down before they hit their jumps, causing them to lose time coming in. Well, Stewart would come into the jumps and he would, as he was going off the lip, he would turn the bike down like you would turning into a corner, going around a corner. And so it just was so crazy to watch this dude, because you'd see this dude just like holding it wide, and normally you'd be like, dude, when's this dude going to slow down? And he didn't. It was like this dude just went as fast as he could, laid it down like a pancake, man, just off the face, and he would pass like 2-3 dudes just off of one jump, just being able to learn how to scrub. And I just remember being like a kid who was like, that was the holy grail of everything. It was like, dude, how do you do that?
Just going hard all the way.
Just all the time, going hard 24/7. And man, so for me, it was just like, that's what made me idolize him. I'd say at a young age. But anymore, I would say, like right now, I'd say Ryan Dungey's probably another huge, guy for me as I get older. 'Cause I don't know, as I'm making, my life journey into, wanting to have a family and stuff like that, I would say more like, I look up to Ryan Dungey for the man that he is, and for the being the ambassador for the sport, just doing the right things, being very charitable, giving back to the motocross community is huge. So
in my limited motocross knowledge, Ryan Dungey is a pretty big name, and he was a champion, right?
yes, correct.
Well, what makes a motocross champion? I mean, what is it? Training? Is it like what dude was doing, just going all out, not being scared? What makes a good motocross champion then?
That's a huge question for, I think, a lot of people these days, is because I think everybody's trying to find like that pot, like putting everything in, all these ingredients into what makes a motocross champion. Like I know parents, they go out and they're always searching left and right. And for myself, that's a daily question on itself. Like, what is it that makes a true champion? I think at the end of the day, a lot of it's just, giving it 100% in everything you do. I'm a huge believer in like God puts down, he puts down, trials, and he puts down challenges in your life so that you have to overcome them.
Right.
And I think you have to be able to basically hit those targets along the way. Like I think there's a big checklist box, and I think you have to, hit every single one of those check boxes along the way as you going through your career.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the end of the question though is like, yeah, for sure it's going to have to be, eating healthy, working out, bike time for sure. I think a huge thing also is, I like to use a quote a lot, but it's called, I like to say is, no unclean thing can dwell in the presence of God. So like, if you're not doing the right things and you're not, you're not pushing yourself to the limits and making sure you're just being the good person that you are the entire time, I don't think you can really hit that. So basically, you're basically just trying to get all your stars to align, and it has to happen for those individuals that are chasing the career of any sports in general. So,
well, let me ask you a question just to touch on that a little bit. I'm curious as to, outside of training and working hard, which I would imagine every champion in every sport, even parents, if you want to be a champion parent, I mean, you have to put in the work. That's a given. What is there something that separates someone from another? Like, does their body makeup, do genetics, do height, do weight, do like limb length? I mean, what is there anything like that, or is it just who's willing to hit the throttle and go the fastest?
On that one for sure, it's I don't know if, as far as motocross goes, I don't know if your genetics really matter. Like, I know if you're to be, a fighter pilot or, a basketball player, you definitely need to fit a certain criteria. But motocross, if you've looked in the past, you look at the past championships, you've seen dudes of all heights and weights kind of be able to win. I would definitely say it helps be a little shorter, and I don't know for sure why that is, but you look at Ricky Carmichael, Cooper Webb, Ryan Villapoto, all these dudes are a little bit shorter, so I don't know what that has to entail. Maybe it is easier to kind of balance yourself on the bike, but I think at the end of the day, when it comes to motocross, like, yeah, you got to have some big balls. Like, you got to be able to, saying we say is you got to be able to go full send sometimes. Like, I remember racing last week, and just, as you're getting tired and you just feel like you don't got any more in you, you have to keep pushing. Like, that's just motocross for you. You got to be able to do that jump, whether there's tons of, kickers up the lips, it's all rutted up and everything. It's the person who's still just going to be able to be like, I'm going to stay on the gas and just go for it no matter what. But that takes years and time to be able to do that, to build the strength up, to build that mentality just to never give up. And you have to, again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, is like you have moments in life where it's going to determine your outcome. And if you don't give it everything you got, that's a moment missed to be able to conquer that challenge.
So is there if you're not mentally prepared or physically prepared, do you run the risk of getting injured more?
Yeah, you do, for sure. If you don't have a clear head and you're thinking about so many other things going on in your life, you can. It definitely does put more of an injury factor into it, just because you need to make sure you're having a clear head every time you're hopping on a bike, because there's just so much stuff already going on with the bike, the shifting, the suspension, the motor. And these are all things that you need to be able to seriously harness and focus on. And so if your head's up in the clouds on, like, what happened yesterday with the fight with a family member, or, with a friend or whatnot, and you're not out there riding, making sure you're hitting your marks, then yeah, you're going to come off a jump. And if your head's up in the clouds, you're done.
That would be my biggest thing. I mean, you guys send it. When you're talking about send it, you guys are hitting jumps that are, there's no way I'd be able to hit them. I look at curbs like on the street, and those scare me. But
like Napoleon Dynamite.
Absolutely.
Sweet jump, dude.
Absolutely. That's my kind of motocross right there, because I'm the guy that I'm going to hurt myself. That's why I don't ride bikes. People ask me, dude, do you ride? No, I don't ride. I know I don't belong on a bike. What are some of the more common injuries, and have you been hurt riding?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hurt pretty much my whole life. I've definitely been blessed to not have, knock on wood for sure, but a lot of my injuries have been minor. I've had a couple knee surgeries. I've had collarbones. That's a very common one. When you land on your head, your helmet will hit your collarbone, and that's a easy one to break.
Right.
I mean, motocross is definitely known for injuries. But I think, again, it goes back to, if you have a clear head, you get proper training from a coach, he can definitely help you big time. And that's what motocross misses right now, is just trainers or people that teach the sport. And I think that's a huge, that's what causes injuries a lot, is just people hop on a bike not knowing what they need to do. You got so much dopamine just doused in you. Like, as you're hitting your jump, every time you hit a jump, you get more excited. And what happens is you're getting your own drug. And so next thing you know, you're forgetting what's going on the bike. And then again, once you start forgetting what you're doing, you hit a jump wrong, you go down pretty hard. So
Right. And starting this out, how old were you again when you started?
So I was, I want to say I was 4 or 5.
That's got to be a mom's nightmare.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, riding a motorcycle at 4 or 5 years old.
Learning to ride a bike.
Yeah, even right. But let alone, around a track with, however, how many people do you guys race with on a track?
So normally, just at a local race, you'll probably about 25 to 30 people is what an average gate is. But if you go to a big national, you're probably lining up with 40 people on a gate.
That's a lot of people for me to hurt on a bike. See, that's why I'm not out there.
Well, I know that your second part of your routine is, or your business model right now, and we're gonna talk about your business. We'll give you an opportunity to talk about your business here in a minute, Hayden. But going back to the trainer thing, that's a big part of your life as well, is taking kids, both novice and some kids that are really good right now, and helping them get to whatever their next level might be. As a matter of fact, we have one of your newest students in studio with us today as well. You and Landon met, maybe 5 months ago?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So welcome to the show, Landon.
Thank you. It is great to be here.
Question for you. There's a generation gap between you and your trainer. So I would ask you, I mean, when we talk about his idols as James Stewart and Ryan Dungey, these are guys of the past that no longer race. Correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah. All these dudes are definitely now retired, so it's a whole new generation.
So a generation later, who are your idols, Landon?
Honestly, like, the generation thing isn't really a big deal, because like I honestly still get on and pretty much watch James Stewart do cool shit on a bike every day. But someone that I really do like to watch ride right now is Cooper Webb.
Cooper Webb. And he's a champion for the most part. I mean, I know that I'm not a motocross expert, but I know that the top three names that I can think of would be Cooper Webb, Ken Roxon, and Eli Tomac right now. So I think they kind of all trade first to third slots in a lot of these races. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part.
So I'd ask you the same question that we asked Hayden then. What makes Cooper Webb your idol? What makes you idolize a dirt biker? What kind of traits or things do they do that make you follow somebody or want to be like somebody?
The big thing with Cooper Webb that I really like is he just freaking grinds the whole race, you know? Like, doesn't matter if he's in first or last, like he just figures out how to make it work and come back and fucking win, you know?
I think a lot of that is that too. It's got to be a lot of racing against yourself, not necessarily the guy who's right next to you. You know, it's like what Hayden was saying. You know, if you're trying to be the best you can, a lot of it's, you know, it's mental. It's inside your head. You know, and it's a race against yourself every day.
That's a real good point, Trevor. And I'll tell you, I had the opportunity, and it was a really good opportunity to go down and watch Hayden race last week or a couple weeks ago. And one of the conversations that we had at the race was, every sport that I've been involved with as a child up to now has been team sports, soccer, baseball, things like that, basketball. I played a little bit of basketball. I've never played a sport or done something that was where you're kind of on your own.
Right.
You know, so you can train with people and you can root for the people that are on your team or in your circle or whatnot. But at the end of the day, when you get up to that gate, there's only one winner. So it's, that's got to make for, I would think that's got to make for, you got to probably be quite a bit more mentally tough, I would say, in a sport where you're on your own.
Right, where it's more self-sufficient.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
Going against yourself.
Sure. Is that accurate, boys? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Looking outside I was just thinking about another thing is weather. Do you guys have a preference on riding indoors or outdoors? I mean, right here it's snowing right now, so is that kind of putting you guys on the chopping block for a minute? How are you guys racing right now? What are you doing to train?
Yeah, right. Right now with us being in Utah, you know, once the snow hits, you know, it gets a little bit challenging. But for me at least, I like when the snow comes because that means a break.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's basically January hits, dude. It's 100% all the way until October. So once I see the snow, it means that, you know, my time's coming to be able to take a break for a second. So
nice.
But
go ahead.
I was gonna say, but for like Landon, with him just getting into it though, it's like he's just itching all the time to get out and ride and go have fun. So,
what are you doing, Landon, to train right now? I know your heart's pretty into this right now.
Honestly, like bike time, I don't really have a whole lot of that right now with the snow and kind of the crummy weather. But I mean, I'm hitting the gym every day, every morning. I'm working out. I'm taking ice baths all the time, and I'm actually moving to California in like 2 weeks for the winter, so I'll be able to ride year round.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, are there any cool video games and stuff? I know, like playing Tony Hawk and stuff.
Excite Bike.
Yeah, it used to be Excite Bike.
Remember the Nintendo game Excite
right?
Bike?
Well, no, you brought up a name a minute ago. It wasn't Dungy. Maybe it was Dungy. No.
Ricky Carmichael.
Carmichael. I used to play a game. God, now I can't remember, but always Ricky Carmichael.
They're freak style.
Right.
Did you ever play freak style, dude?
I don't know what I was
okay.
playing, but have they got anything now? That you guys play like racing video games?
Yeah, for sure. But like, I don't know, it's weird. Like racing games and stuff, they're still like the graphics on them are just not like what like Call of Duties and stuff are, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but they're pretty sick.
Right. Well, at least you can pass the time.
Well, I'd like to ask Hayden. I'd like to ask you a question. You seem to be a pretty goal-oriented person, goal-driven. A lot of checking boxes and things that you want to accomplish. So, I think one thing that I would like to know, and maybe all the people that may or may not listen to this would like to know, or what's your, and I'm not talking from a business standpoint, but just Hayden the racer. What's your main goal? What's your one personal goal that drives you?
What drives me is just giving life 100%, I've had a couple accidents in my life where I should definitely not be here. Like I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a wreck where I hit about 130-foot jump, and I ended off of it and basically went to go catch myself, and I don't remember what happened, but I ended up breaking my arm pretty good. And I wouldn't say I went into a coma, but it was probably the closest head injury you could possibly get to that. Like I remember it taking me about a month for myself to actually be able to come back together. I was going to college at that time, and I couldn't even end up. I just remember like going to class like a week later and almost passing out during the classes and stuff because I just couldn't like fully get myself there. And and I went down a path that like with pills and Adderall and stuff like that just really put me into a bad place for probably about 2 or 3 years before I started training kids and kind of seeing a different side of life. But I just know that I've had a couple kids, or I wouldn't say a couple, but I've had one of my students pass away, and I had another kid who went into a coma being told that he was going to pretty much be a vegetable and die this year, and miraculously he didn't. He ended up being able to walk out of the hospital a month later. But I just think that when you have life instances, like life changing events in your daily life, kind of like what's been happening for me in the last 6 years, it just kind of makes you think that that life isn't always going to be there for you. Like tomorrow It could be a different day, and I'm not gonna lie, kind of listening to Drew last week and spending time with him down in Arizona, man, he's just taught me that life's moments, like that's it. So you have opportunities every day to seize the moment and to be able to have that memory instilled. And it could just be for yourself, but it could be for everybody. So I guess back to your question is just what drives me and helps me push me every single day is just knowing that what do you have to lose in this life? What do you have to lose? Are we all cutting ourselves short? Because I know for me, I did that for a long time in life. I remember all my buddies going on an LDS mission, which is it's a thing where you spend 2 years of your life devoting yourself to God to go and help other people. And I just remember being at home, all my buddies were getting called to Mexico and Brazil and all these cool places at the time, I thought, and I just kind of had in my head, I'm I'm not that good. I can't speak another language. That was my self thoughts all the time. And so the whole time I'm I'm probably just going to get called to the United States. I'm just going to stay around here or whatnot. And I remember opening up my calling, and I couldn't even say my mission, which was going to Russia. And I would say right then, that was another kind of huge thing in my life where I was damn, dude, I'm shorting myself on every single level. So for me, it's just we don't want to short ourselves in anything we do. So it's just live life to, 100% all the time.
Right.
So
you had said that you'd fallen and you'd broken your arm. What would you tell somebody that falls and has a real bad accident, something detrimental like that, and they get scared and want to get back up on the bike? That's got to be rough.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be rough. But to be honest with you, it's one of those things where I don't have much sympathy for that. You know, I'm sorry, but like, dude, there's so much rough stuff going on out there, especially like when kids come and cry to me about like what they're doing. It's like, dude, you chose to come do this, not me. You know, like you're choosing to do this. And when you buy a bike, man, like
it's a commitment. 99% of the time, it's probably mom and dad buying the bike.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like, you know, you just got to tell them like, buck up, dude, like scrape it off. Like if there's not bones showing, then like you're good to go still.
Right.
Like
Get back up.
Yep.
I want to go back to your seize the moment comment that you made. So what would be your moment? Like what's the ultimate goal for you that you want to get to? Like what is the moment that you want to seize before your racing career is all said and done?
I would say right now it's to go to Loretta's and to win is the main goal right now. So that's my year goal. That's what I'll be training for the next, you know, where we at, probably another 6 months or so. That's where I'm at right now.
What is Loretta's? How do you win Loretta's? What's that?
So Loretta's is it's a race out in Tennessee. It's on famous ladies singers land. It's called Loretta Lynn's.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. Loretta
coal miner's daughter.
Right.
So, so there's this big race. It was started about, I want to say like almost 40 years or so ago. And, pretty much it's just this big race out out in Tennessee that you have to qualify. You have to go to about 2 to 3 races, around the country to be able to qualify for.
So not anybody can just go race there.
No, not anybody can.
But Hayden can.
I guess. If you put enough work into it, I mean, Lando's going to make it happen in a year.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
So why is that the goal? What is it about that? Is there some prestige with that race, or what makes that the end game? Like if your career is over at the end of this year and you've accomplished that, why is that the pinnacle?
A lot of it's just like something I've always wanted to do as a little kid. I've always wanted to go and make it happen, and as a little kid, I always missed it like by 1 or 2 spots. And I would also say with kids and whatnot, it's fun to experience this race with the kids I teach. So it's fun to be able to train the kids and then watch them be able to go and live their dream out there. So for me, it's just, you know, for me, it'd be an end goal just for the fact that it's something that I've always wanted to do, but it's also something I love to watch the kids train for and push for and being able to achieve. Like there's no better feeling than watching a kid have a number or have a ticket to Loretta Lynn's in their hands.
So I'd like to hear from you, Lando, being new to the sport and not 20 years in or 25 plus years in. What kind of goals do you have? What's your seize the moment?
My goal by next year is I want to make it to Loretta's, so I just want to qualify to be able to even go and race there.
What's it going to take for you to get there from this point right now?
It's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of bike time. It's going to take a lot of working out. Like I need to get my freaking stamina up. It's probably going to take a little bit of luck. I'm just going to have to grind to do it pretty much.
What's it like training with Hayden then? Is he on you all the time or?
Yeah, he's on me, but he's like, it's not like he's on me trying to be rude. Like he's on me to motivate me. So it's pretty cool. We do a lot of stuff outside of actually just going to the track and riding a dirt bike too, which is pretty fun. He showed me a lot of really cool stuff to do.
Well, so what do you think you need to work on? Is it cardio? Is it trying to put on a little bit more weight? Nutrition? Do you have? I mean,
one of the big things, cardio for sure. Dude, I get gas like the first 3 laps of a race, especially because I haven't raced a whole lot yet. So when I start racing, I get super nervous and anxious. So I just tire myself out quicker.
I once heard about a guy who, and he's pretty good racer already, that throws up before he races.
Yeah. There's probably a lot weirder regimens, I guess.
I would think when you get to that level where you're pretty good, you shouldn't be puking anymore. But I don't know.
That's the thing. Like I can go out to the practice track and ride for 40 minutes, no problem, But then the first freaking 2 minutes into a race, I've got arm pump. I can hardly breathe. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because you guys both talk about the work that it's going to take to accomplish your goals, whether it's win Loretta's or win a local race or whatnot. So I guess both of you guys can answer this question. You can answer it separate. You can answer it together. But describe like a training regimen. Like what's the day in the life of a motocross trainer, and what you guys are doing, what you're trying to accomplish from a training standpoint.
I mean, basically, when it comes down to training, it's just being able to, basically get yourself in enough shape to be able to do a 20-minute moto on a dirt bike. And so, what a lot of people don't know is motocross, you're basically running a marathon for 20 minutes, like as hard as you can go. Like when you get the statistics on like heart rates and stuff, you're talking some of these dudes let me go back. When you go to the Supercross, they actually have the announcers read off what the racers' heart rates are.
Oh, wow.
And they'll tell you, like some of them, when they're up here in Utah, because it's a higher altitude and everything, your body has to work harder, that some of these dudes' heart rates were at 200. So I don't know if you guys have ever gotten your heart rate up to around there. I know Drew works out, and I don't know much about you yet, but like I'm sure that you've done something in life where you've gone on a hike where you've gotten your heart rate up, but you got to run that for 20 minutes straight.
My wife gets my heart rate up like that, just being in love.
Right.
So cardio's a big thing, is what I'm gathering.
Yes.
Which I'll be honest, that was a shock to me, because you wouldn't think like chasing a soccer ball or running up and down a basketball court, like that makes sense to me from a cardio standpoint. Sitting on a bike and letting the engine do all the work, I wouldn't think that would be. So that's interesting. So talk us through, what do you guys do to train for your cardio then? Like what's a training? How do you train for your cardio? What do you two specifically do?
One of the big things we do is we mountain bike a lot. We really like mountain biking. And then we do this thing every time we're working out, like in between sets, we'll run for like 5 minutes on a treadmill. One of us will be on the rower for 5 minutes, and whatever, we'll do 5 or 6 sets a day. So we're getting 25, 30 minutes of cardio, plus like working out, and then plus just being on the bike. Because like everyone says that, like, oh, wow, it looks so easy just sitting on the bike, but that bike beats your ass, man. I mean,
Trevor said that. He couldn't believe. He told me that the easiest thing in the world to do would be a dirt bike racer.
No, I don't think I ever said that.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean,
we got a trainer here. We got a couple. I think we have a few dirt bikes.
Right,
So
let's
you
go
can
out in
get
the
you
snow.
going.
We can do it right now.
Sweet jump.
But
With not only with all the training and stuff, I'm sure, like the brands of bikes you guys use and, and whatever. Do you guys have a preference on, I mean, what kind of bike are you riding, Hayden? What do you got?
So right now I'm on the Husky FC 450, probably the best bike ever made.
It's a pretty big bike, right?
Yeah, it's close to the Cowies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to them, but yeah, the Husky still is probably the best right now.
Why is that?
Kawasaki guy.
Yeah. I'm more of a rollerblade guy, I guess.
Schwinn.
Schwinn, Huffy.
I'll take a Diamondback.
Right. What about you, Lando?
right now I'm on a Husqvarna FC 250. So it's the same bike as Hayden. It's just not as powerful and fast.
Right. Mm-hmm. Is it as big or?
Same size. Just it's a lot lighter. Pretty much other than that, it's the same. It just doesn't go as fast.
Then why do you prefer that over anything? Is this your first bike or?
It's one of my first bikes, but plus like those 450s, they scare the crap out of me, dude. Those things are fast and they're mean. They're a little scary to ride.
Is there differences between bike brands? Like I know there's Honda and Yamaha and Kawasaki, and you can go to a track at any given day and see all 4 or 5 different bike brands out there. What makes, like, why are you drawn to one brand over another? Is there components of the bike that are different?
Yeah, I mean, so basically Yamaha, Honda, Cowie, and Suzuki all are Japanese brands. And they still run aluminum frame. So aluminum frame is going to be more of a stiff. It's going to be a stiffer bike. It's good for Supercross. And how these bikes are made is to be able to race a bike in Supercross, you have to have 200 bikes manufactured. So like a lot of these guys, you can't just like the frame has to be the same for like the same bike I ride or the same frame I ride, they have to ride. Other than that, the components can be anything for the Supercross and outdoor professionals. But when it comes to the Huskies, Gas now, which is owned by KTM and KTM's themselves. They all run steel frame, which is it has more of a flex, so it makes it more of a comfortable bike, helps cornering, but it does lack in some areas as far as like going through whoops or corners. It kind of flexes a little bit more. The frame does, so it's makes it a little bit harder to get through those areas. Whereas far as the Japanese bikes, they're more of a stiff component bike, so it helps in those areas. For an average person, it's going to be hard. I mean, the biggest thing that's going to be the biggest thing is going to be the power wise. So like 125s, 250s, and 450s. 155 is going to be a two-stroke, which you have to mix up your gas and everything like that, and it's going to be a little bit slower. You got to be on the gas at all times with the two-stroke, because the second you kill the bike, you don't have the torque anymore. So it's a good beginner bike to be able to start learning on a 125. And then the next progression, like Randon's at, he's on the 250, which is a good bike for him because, now he's learning how to handle that heavier bike. There's more power now, so he's adjusting to everything like that. And the next bike, probably in another 3 years, is going to be a 450 for him. But you definitely have to learn how to
step up. Right,
yeah, 100%,
right.
yeah.
Well, Hayden, let me ask you a question. You said you've been motocrossing now for 25, 24 years, whatever it was. You've probably made a lot of memories in that time. So tell us what your best and your worst memories, motocross memories, are.
I would definitely say that the worst memories is probably getting to where I was. The every single day out to the track with my dad. Like having to seriously go out there every single night for like 3 or 4 hours. And I have pretty much my dad was pretty rough on me, and I definitely wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't without him. But like a worst memory though was like my dad, if I didn't hit a jump, he would freaking yell at me. And I remember one time I didn't hit this jump for like probably 2-3 weeks. And so what you do is, back when I rode, you'd wear a chest protector, which is like a plastic guard that goes over your body. And then you'd always put your name and your number that you ran on the back. And I just remember like my dad, one time I didn't hit a jump for like 2 weeks, and he goes, "I'm telling you right now, if you don't hit that jump, I'm going to go get the chest protector made that says #1 pussy."
Ooh.
And so, so I had to run that for about a month. So that, it's a funny memory now anymore, but yeah, at that time, dude, that was rough, like having to go around that. So, I would say best memory though anymore is, that's a hard one. I don't know. Like every time I get to hop onto my motorcycle, like, I don't know. I'm grateful to being able to do that, because I know not a lot of people are able to have that opportunity. So I guess, let's go back. Best memory would be the day that I decided to quit my day-to-day job and to be able to finally be like, I want to go train now. I want to go help kids and give back. Like, I think that is my #1 memory, because that's what got me out of my hole. That's what got me out of all my depression and out of, just a bad scenario in my life. So.
Right. We talked a little bit about, regimens and stuff. I think a lot that has to go with regimens is superstitions. Do you guys have any kind of, weird, funky things that you don't try to do before you go on before you race, or certain foods you don't eat, or certain things you don't say?
Yeah. I would say like a few of them are, whenever you get a brand new helmet, you always drop it on the ground.
All right.
I would say.
What is that? Is that for a reason, or is it's just a superstition?
So the reason behind it, like, and it's a for every motocross dude, but when you have a brand new helmet, the first thing you don't want to go do is go trash it. Like, you don't want to go wreck in it. So then,
especially while your head's in it.
Yeah. So you basically, so what happens is it's in your subconscious not to make sure you're not going to jack up a helmet. So next thing you know it, you crash, and usually they're pretty hard crashes, and then you jack up your helmet. So everybody that, when you get a new helmet, the superstition is you take your helmet, you look at it, looks cool, you drop it on the ground, and you pick it up and go.
Do you have a certain superstition or regiment that you do before
every time I ride, at my right sock and my right knee brace go on first.
Right on. What about you, Lando?
I put my left boot on, then my right boot on all the time.
On those feet?
Yeah. Yep, on my right feet.
All right.
I put them on in that order.
All right. I thought it'd be kind of weird to go with your shoes on your wrong feet, but
Was that a natural thing, or did you consciously make that decision that was going to be your superstition?
Well, at first it was pretty natural, and then I crashed one race in Mesquite, messed up my back a little bit, and that day I put my boots on right, then left, and I remember because that's the first time I'd done that, and I crashed. So then after that I was like, all right, it's got to be left then right.
that was the adding factor.
Yep, and my gloves at the last.
You got a name for your bike? Do you name your bike?
Mm-mm.
No name? What about you, Hayden?
No.
No?
I let my grandma name mine. She called it Zeus, so
There you go.
guess we're running with that.
So Hayden, you keep talking about Supercross, and so my question is motocross or MX? Is that what they call motocross racing? MX?
Yeah, MX is the outdoors, and SX is Supercross.
So is there a difference between the two sports?
Yeah, there's two differences. MX motocross is going to be outdoors. The tracks are going to be longer. They're more rough. They got bigger jumps and all. And basically, Supercross is all indoors, tighter courses. The lap times are usually around like 45 seconds to a minute. Both Supercross does 20-minute motos, and outdoors they do 30 minutes plus 2. So
Plus
So
two,
do you run
meaning
both
2
then?
laps?
yeah, so you do 30 minutes. They do a countdown. They start at 30 minutes. Once that gate drops, they count all the way down. Once that timer's gone, they'll give you a board that says 2 laps to go. You'll do another lap, white flag, checkered.
So once that time clicks down, that indicates to the riders you have 1 lap or 2 laps to either win it or you're done.
Yeah. Yep.
So do racers race both? Would you call it a league? Are they leagues or what? Or is it all under the motocross umbrella?
I would say pretty much moto would be, races. Yeah, not so much leagues. I don't know, what you mean? Like baseball and stuff. Is that what you mean by leagues? It's just like having.
Well, I'm just curious, are there racers that will only race one and not the other? Or if you're in one, do you automatically race? Because it almost sounds like that it would be in increments of maybe if one's outdoor, you want to do it when the weather's nice and maybe as you move indoors, or do they just race in states where the weather is always nice?
Yeah, so basically if you sign a contract with any of the teams, you're pretty much contracted to do that Supercross and outdoors. So Supercross is 17 weeks and motocross is usually 12 to 13. And majority of the contracts to these guys are pretty much like you got to be able to go both. There's only been like maybe a handful of guys like Chad Reed, Jerry McGrath, Ricky Carmichael, and James Stewart. Like once you've built your name to a certain degree, like you get to hold that over them, But for the most part, if you don't have that, then you basically have to be able to do outdoor. So there's like no time off. Like basically pretty much Supercross goes from January 1st all the way till May 3rd, 4th, like second week into May. And then outdoors will start 2 weeks after. So they get 2-week breaks, helping get ready for the outdoors, and their bike setups are totally different too. Supercross is way more stiffer. Outdoor motocross the suspension's a lot more softer. So they have to go from one bike, and then 2 weeks later they're on a whole different bike.
Do you have a preference between like indoor or outdoor then?
I would say I'm more of an outdoor guy.
Or like tracks around here. What's your favorite track? Where do you like to race at?
My favorite track is up in Washington, Washougal.
Okay.
It's just super. It's just an amazing place to go. It just has trees. It feels like you're camping. When you just usually go to a motocross track, it's like you're sweating out there and the dust is always everywhere. So it's like once you're done, you're just like, dude, I just don't want to be here. Like I want to freaking go get out of this place. But Washington, like it's just beautiful. Like you could literally just stay up there and camp all week and ride dirt bikes because you don't feel like that by any means.
Nice.
Well, one of the questions that I have is being new to the sport. They're always using terminology on the TV. And I never really quite know what they're saying. So let's just take a minute and talk about some of the more common slang or terms you might hear on a on a dirt biking thing. Trevor and I want to just kind of ask you about what some of these are and what they mean and all that. So I hear arm pump a lot.
Yeah, earlier you were talking about arm pump, Lando. What's arm pump, bud?
It's like I don't even really know how to explain it. Pretty much, your arms just get so tight and your hands just freaking hurt, and it's just like impossible to hold on to a bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, like the forearm?
Is it like from
is it
pulling
your
on the
forearm?
throttle, just more
Dude,
one arm?
It's
than-
from clamping down.
Right.
Like
So what do you do when you're in the middle of a race to, get rid of that?
there are certain spots on tracks and stuff that you can like not let go of your bike, but loosen your grip up and let your arm relax. Like if you're in the air for a sec, like you're still holding on, you can still hold on to your bike, but you don't have to, be clamped down on it. You can loosen your hand up and kind of give it a sec to take a breather, I guess, stuff like
So
that.
you're not all cramped up. Eat a lot of bananas, potassium.
Oh yeah.
See, that goes right in with your regiment.
Drink a lot of water.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm watching him drink a ginger ale right now. I'm sure that's not in the nutrition program for a motocrosser.
Especially after such a good workout this morning.
You're drinking coffee.
So this is the one. I hear this all the time. Every dirt biker at one point or another will say, "I cased that jump." So what exactly does it mean to case a jump?
Okay, casing a jump is like you think you have the jump, you're coming in with speed, and you hit the lip, and basically you realize you're not going to make that jump. So next thing you know it, you're tensing up, and basically casing means that you didn't make it all the way. Your bike comes up on the knuckle, and yeah, usually hurts. And it basically, depending on how big the jump is, it will jack up your ankles, and sometimes you'll hit your nuts pretty hard. And that's never fun. You got to pull off.
Is that why you wear motocross boots? Does that protect your ankles?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the stiffer the boots, the better, because if you get some trail riding boots or whatnot, they're not built to be able to take any hits. So like for me, it's like if I see a kid coming out for their first time and they're like in a Fox 180, which is just pretty much leather. There's no pivots in the boot, no structure in the ankles. I'll tell them straight up like, hey, you need to run back, and you need. I usually have a couple pair of boots I'll let them wear for a second until they get their own, but. Yeah, you never want to ride a motocross track unless you have specific motocross boots.
So if you listen to our podcast last week, Trevor and I, at some point, I think we're going to come out and train with you, but we're going to wear hammer pants with Tiva sandals and a braided belt. Would that suffice as proper motocross attire?
What about Doc Martin boots?
Perfect.
You can do the Doc Martens, dude, for sure.
Yeah.
See, all right.
Can I play hacky sack at the motocross track?
Shit, yeah, dude, that's encouraged.
Is Pearl Jam still accepted at tracks?
No, it's all Machine Gun Kelly now. It's all Machine Gun Kelly. They blast at the tracks.
I would say, dude, everything except at a motocross track. No
So if a
judgment.
kid shows up in the wrong boots, you just tell his ass to go home?
You tell him, like I said, I'll give him a pair of boots and be like, dude, you need to put these ones on. But if not, like, yeah, you got to be able to show up and get a tire.
What if you have giant calves, Trevor? Show
Let's
Hayden.
see.
Show
Let's
Hayden the
see.
calves.
Dude, look at these. Oh my
Holy
god.
What do you?
Jeez,
Yeah.
dude.
What do you put?
Flex
What do you
it,
put?
flex it.
Is there a boot made for that thing?
I'm sure we can get one. We'll figure this thing out.
We'll have to mold my calf.
Dude, did you mountain bike your whole life or something?
No, I did a lot of like karate and gymnastics as a kid
Holy crap.
and stuff.
That's insane, dude. Like, you got to see this dude's freaking calves right now.
Oh,
Well, let's see yours, Lando. There you go. Those are some motocross and calves right there. I think that's what I'd need.
You know what? This brings up one thing real quick is like, I just got to let people know that like when they look at dirt bikers, they think that they're their biggest sissies. And like, you would not think a motocrosser is strong, but I'd love to take them against a lot of these like bodybuilder dudes.
I got a lot of respect for motocrossers, man.
Yeah, it's a grind for sure.
Yeah, that's a whole body workout. Like I said, I know I don't belong on a bike.
When you go to a race and you actually see some of these injuries and these crashes, I mean, it's a wonder you don't hear more about deaths and and
Exactly.
seriously tragic stuff. I mean, you're talking about a machine that can go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in seconds, flying through the air at 100 feet. So, yeah, definitely got a lot of respect for, especially when you get to the pro level.
Right.
What's been the biggest eye opener for you, Drew? Like watching Landon race and like watching his progression and everything. Like what was something that really stuck out to you that was just like you never thought that maybe he could do it, or just something you're like that really impressed you?
Well, I think you already answered the question with the word progression. I was flabbergasted at where he went from day one to where he is now. And I know he's absolutely got a long way to go, but yeah, that progression was what I didn't expect. And probably the jumping. You know, I mean, I know that you guys talk about cornering being where races are won and lost, but I mean, from a parent standpoint or a fan standpoint, watching a bike fly through the air at 100 feet, long, 20 feet in the air, that's been a real eye opener. So
yeah, Lando, what got you into it? Like, what made you start wanting to get into it and everything?
Frick, man, I've been wanting to do this for like a super long time. So like my uncle had like a 2018 like KX250. He never rode it, literally not once. And I kept asking my dad, I was like, if I buy it, like, will you just let me go ride? And he kept telling me no. And then eventually they caved. I bought a Yamaha, and I just went out there and started trying. Honestly, I don't really know what it was. I think I was just bored. And I started watching YouTube videos. I was like, man, that's badass. I think I could do that.
No, that's what's up.
Showed up to the track.
No, that's what's up, man.
So let's talk about the infamous hole shot term.
Oh,
Like in almost every race you watch, you hear the word hole shot. So one of you tell us what a hole shot is.
I'll let Landon do that one because down at Mono, he had a hole shot on the first moto. I just remember him being pumped about that.
Okay, pretty much a hole shot is coming out in first place off the start. So, I mean, you have 40 kids all going as fast as they can, heading to one corner. And then it's usually right as you turn the corner 5 or 6 feet after that first corner is where, like, the designated, like, hole shot line is. Like, whoever passes that first is, like, gets the hole shot. So it's just whoever comes out in first place off of the start.
Is that a tough thing to accomplish?
Oh, dude, it's scary. The biggest thing is it's freaking scary because you're, like, literally, like, inches from other kids all going literally as fast as they can into one corner.
Is it harder for you to keep people off of you, or do you think it's harder to like try to catch up to people?
I think it's probably harder to keep people off of you. Like if you're in front of someone, it's a lot harder because they're behind you and their whole mindset is I need to pass this kid no matter what. And when you're behind someone, like your whole mindset is like I need to catch up to this kid and beat his ass, and it like motivates you, So like you can pace yourself and know how fast you need to be going. But if someone's behind you, like you need to push as hard as you can, and the person behind you is going to push just that much more to pass you,
All right. What's a lapper then?
So lapper's basically, if everybody started, there's 40 guys on a gate, everybody takes off. A lapper is going to be somebody that you would usually about halfway through a race, there's always going to be a few straggling coming through. And then it's basically when the first place dude passes you again. So basically if you're racing, dude in first, dude in second, dude in third are starting to catch up to the dudes that are in last place. And they
So I would be the quad lapped. I'd probably get lapped 4 times.
Well, that's why you need to you'd have to invest in that whiskey throttle. Explain what whiskey throttle is, Lando.
Whiskey throttle is when you hit the gas when you don't really intend to. Like, I mean, you just pin it. And, so, a lot of the times, people will fall off the back of bikes. You sit there trying to hold onto your bike, so all you do is you fall backwards as you give it more gas,
Okay.
And that's whiskey throttle.
So I hear all the time when people are racing, they describe a part of the track as the whoops. They'll say he got hurt in the whoops or he's flying through the whoops. Is that the right term? Is it whoops? Like WHOOPS? Is that? It's not whips, right? It's whoops.
It's the whoop-de-doos.
Yep.
So what is that? Is that a certain jump, or is it always a certain part of the track, or what are the whoops?
So whoops are going to be basically, they can come in all sizes, but what it is it's basically a straightaway full of bumps. And they can, like I said, they vary from being, supercross whoops are going to be about 3 feet high. And then they're spread out for about 7 feet apart from each other, and they'll go for about, I would say 50 yards, and that can give or take a little bit. But basically, I mean, they're gnarly. Like, whoops are one of the toughest things to tackle, because when you're doing whoops, it's full commitment right off the bat. You can't go halfway into them and be like, oh, I'm going to stop and chop the gas, because then what will happen is a thing called endo, where the front end of the bike will drop into the whoop or into the bottom of the whoop, and you'll end up flipping over them. So
whoops are like moguls in
They're
skiing
like,
or whatever.
yeah.
But,
Like
all
it's
right.
like a straight line of speed
Right,
bumps.
right.
Yeah.
So what would they do to me if I was racing? I got to the whoops and was like, oh shit, I'm not going through those. Can I just go out to the side and cruise along them, or is that illegal?
If you let everyone pass, they probably won't say anything, but they might penalize you if you stayed like in first place while you did that.
Well, you got to remember, I'm already been lapped 4 times, so.
And yeah, you probably get away with it.
All right, well, there you go. There's some common terms for those of you guys who want to check out a race. Maybe that'll help with you understand what they're talking about. So Hayden, let's give you an opportunity now to talk about your business. Your company name is REP. It's an acronym. What does that stand for?
Yeah, so it stands for Racers Education Program. And basically, yeah, it was just my buddy, when I was trying to come up with my name for my business, he was just like, you should do a Rep MX, and let alone, I come to find out it would actually stand for Racers Education Program.
Racers Education Program.
And
Correct. Yep.
what took you there? What led you on that path to do that?
So how I got into training was I was like, after my injury, now when I had gotten hurt, I kind of like, I tossed in the boots. I was pretty much done, and I just wanted to basically, I needed another way to find love in the sport. And at that time too, I was kind of struggling with trying to find work. I was working for my uncle and as a pipe fitter, and man, every day I was just like getting super depressed about having to wake up every day and do that. And so come to find out, I'd started teach a couple kids, and it just led into me just taking in kids from all over. They started coming living with me, and that's how pretty much started training kids.
What would you say to a kid that's on the cusp of wanting to, if he thinks he's wanting to get into this and start riding bikes and stuff?
Pretty much it's just, there's definitely different levels, but if you're wanting to start to get into riding, you just have, like I said earlier, you just got to be able to commit and just know that it's going to be tough. Like, it's always hard. There's going to be a lot of wrecks. There's going to be a lot of times you're going to have to pick yourself up and keep moving forward. And so as long as you're willing to do that and get scratched up, and basically keep your head up and going, that's what it takes.
All right, Hayden. So I'm going to give you an opportunity on this podcast to plug your business. So tell everybody, I mean, we know what REP is, we know what it stands for, but here's an opportunity for you to sell yourself, sell your business. Talk about REP, talk about what it stands for, and I mean not in the sense of what's the acronym stand for, but what it stands for, why kids should come to you, why you're a good trainer, all the good stuff. Talk about, here's your opportunity to talk about why REP.
Yeah, pretty much when it comes down to when I talk to parents or just people in general about dirt bikes, I just love how, what this sport brings to the table is it's good. It's good in so many ways. I mean, you buy a dirt bike and the kid has to learn how to take care of it, wash it, maintain it all the time. So when you buy a dirt bike, you're not just getting, a sport out of it. You're getting a lifelong accomplishments. I mean, pretty much it takes hard work to be able to wake up every day and go ride a dirt bike that, especially in the summertime when it's 90 to 100 degrees and you still got to put on all your gear and get out there and go and do the laps and do the training. It just really pushes your limits. And then basically when it comes back to it is, and then after you're done with that, you got to go home, you got to wash your bike, you got to take care of it, grease it up, change the oil, the air filter, check your tire pressure, change the tires. So it's just like, there's so many things that are good to come out of motocross. That I just love, it's changed me. Like, I know for me, it's like if I needed to go, work at a motocross shop because of motocross, I've been able to learn how to work on bikes. So if like things, got bad for me and I needed to try to make some money, I could be able to go to a motocross shop and start to work on dirt bikes where, like that's something that just came, from doing something I love, where a lot of people, to become a car mechanic or anything like that, a lot of people go to school for a long time for that, where, this is something I've just been doing since I was a little kid.
Well, talk to the new parents. Let's say there's a kid who gets a dirt bike for Christmas, right? And the parents want to find a trainer or figure out how to get him started. Why would they call Hayden?
They call me for the fact that, like, a lot of parents these days are looking for good mentors. A lot of parents are looking for people just to help their kids, surround them by, somebody or a good group of people that are going to help them overcome life's challenges. Like for me, motocross is more than just a sport. Again, it goes back to the friendships you meet, the people that are surrounding the sport's amazing. So I guess back to your question is just, it's basically, why would you choose me? It's basically you're going to get more than just a motocross coach. You're going to get somebody that's more than just that's just teaching your kid how to ride a bike. Like, again, it goes back to like goal achievement and what it takes is like, it's not just hopping on the bike. It's doing what you do on the out. Like when you go to the track, that's one thing, but what's going to separate you and help you become a champion? It's going to be the things that you're doing outside of the track, that you're doing in every single life, eating good, working hard, being kind to people and loving people. And that's what I try to change. That's what I try to push for in my kids. So
let's see how you're doing. We have one of your students here with us. Landon, tell us what's it like to be a student of Hayden?
It's actually really, really fun, really cool. It's really interesting too because we do a lot of stuff not even related to dirt biking too. That's just really cool. Like he showed me a lot of cool stuff to do in life and just kind of had some cool talks with me about like what life's really about and stuff like that.
So well worth it then.
Oh, definitely.
Would you recommend all parents take their kids to Hayden?
10 out of 10.
All right. Well, I don't really have any more questions, Trevor. Do you?
I do. I've got a pretty important question I want to ask you. I think I already know the answer to it, but it kind of goes around with what the whole show's about. So, Hayden, it sounds like you're obviously into motocross, and you've taken up and been with it for a long time. So, with that being said, in motocross or just in anything in life, is your glass half empty or is it half full, bro?
It's a tricky one because I feel like some days it's half empty, but lately, being grateful and waking up every day is like, dude, my glass is definitely half full all the time. Like,
absolutely.
Being able to wake up and live the life that I live. Sometimes I'm definitely ashamed that I wake up and have the attitude I do against life sometimes, but I would definitely say that there's been a good group of people that I've surrounded myself with that helped me to understand that freaking life is awesome and on so many levels.
All right, Lando, you're not getting out of here with answering the ultimate question that everyone has to answer when they come on our show. Is your glass half empty or half full?
I kind of agree with Hayden. Sometimes it's both, but probably for the majority of the time, it's definitely half full.
Well, that's good. I appreciate you guys stopping by today and hanging out with us.
Thanks for being with us, guys.
Thank you.
And hopefully anybody, if you guys need any dirt bike advice or some life advice, give Hayden a call. We'll get some information posted on our website for you guys. So appreciate it, boys.